When you're doing SNL, you don't have time to think. You just have to go with it, have fun, and not worry if you make mistakes. It's all part of the show. Robert De Niro made 13 mob movies with Martin Scorsese, but after Casino in 1995, he suddenly stopped. For 24 years, they didn't work together. In private, he admitted something shocking: the violence had gone too far. People weren't just watching, they were worshipping it. In 2023, at age 80, he finally explained why he wanted to stop, and it wasn't just about movies. It was about his father's death, the drugs that nearly destroyed him, and a question that haunted him: was he glorifying the same kind of life that ruined his childhood? Robert De Niro was born on August 17, 1943, in New York City, during World War II. His parents, Virginia Admiral and Robert De Niro Sr., were both struggling artists living in a small Manhattan apartment. They married in 1942, but when Robert was just 2 years old, his father left, not out of anger, but honesty. He was gay, something nearly impossible to live openly with in the 1940s. He didn't disappear, though. He stayed close, renting a small studio nearby and spending weekends with his son. They'd go to jazz clubs, art museums, and film houses together. Virginia raised Robert alone, working hard as a typist and editor to make ends meet. She never became bitter, and she and Robert Sr. remained friends. Later in life, De Niro read his father's journals in an HBO documentary, showing that even though their relationship was complicated, their love never ended. As a child, De Niro was shy and pale. Kids nicknamed him Bobby Milk because of his light skin. He spent a lot of time wandering around Little Italy and eventually joined a local gang, not dangerous, just mischievous boys. Their way of talking, walking, and acting stayed with him forever and became part of every mobster he played later in life. His father worried that he would forget about art and books, but Robert balanced both worlds, the gang and the galleries. Virginia saw potential in him and got him free acting lessons through her theater job. When he was just 10 years old, he played the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. Something changed that day. Acting gave him a way to express himself and hide his shyness behind a character. It felt like magic. There was also a hidden story from his childhood. When he was 2, his Catholic grandparents secretly baptized him against his parents' wishes. His father had left the church, and his mother hated organized religion. Still, the grandparents went ahead. Later in life, De Niro rarely talked about faith, once saying, "If there is a God, he has a lot to answer for." That inner conflict between sin and salvation often showed up in his film roles. De Niro switched schools several times and eventually dropped out at 16. He didn't believe a diploma was necessary to chase his dream. His mother helped him connect with the world of serious theater, and he trained under acting legends Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg. He learned not just to act but to become someone else. He once said, "I looked at TV and thought, if these guys can do it, I can too." His first mentor was actress Shelley Winters, who saw his potential early on. She helped him get small roles and pushed him to keep training. For years, De Niro performed in tiny off-Broadway theaters, often unpaid, alongside future stars like Al Pacino. Between 1962 and 1963, he auditioned over 100 times before getting steady work. His first film was The Wedding Party in 1963, a $50 project that wasn't released until 1969. Then came Greetings in 1968, a low-budget political comedy that earned him $50 again but built his reputation. His next film, Sam's Song, was a disaster, and he hated it so much he refused to promote it. Later, the film was re-edited to cash in on his fame, but it still failed. He learned a big lesson: only work with directors you believe in. He got more attention in Hi, Mom, where he reprised his earlier role from Greetings. The movie was controversial, but it proved he could handle risky material. Then he landed The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight, a mob comedy that flopped, but he earned $10,000, his biggest paycheck so far. Ironically, he turned down a role in The Godfather for that movie, a choice he later called one of his biggest mistakes. Everything changed in 1973 when Brian De Palma introduced him to Martin Scorsese. Scorsese immediately cast him in Mean Streets as Johnny Boy, a reckless troublemaker. The movie had a small budget, but De Niro's raw, unpredictable performance stood out. Critics loved it, and his partnership with Scorsese began. Francis Ford Coppola saw Mean Streets and offered De Niro the role of young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, no audition needed. De Niro flew to Sicily for months to learn the dialect and study local life. When the film came out in 1974, his quiet, powerful performance shocked audiences. At age 31, he won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. His pay jumped from $10,000 per film to $500,000 within 5 years. On Mean Streets, De Niro and Harvey Keitel pushed each other hard, improvising scenes to keep them real. The set was tense and chaotic, but it made the movie unforgettable. After The Godfather Part 2, De Niro avoided typecasting and took risks. He even accepted a 90% pay cut to play Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. For Taxi Driver, he got a real taxi license and drove passengers around New York for research. The famous "You talkin' to me" line wasn't in the script, it was pure improvisation. It became one of the most iconic lines in movie history. Then came Raging Bull. To prepare, De Niro trained with real boxer Jake LaMotta for nearly a year, gaining 60 pounds to play the older version of the character. He pushed his body to the limit, eating constantly and training endlessly. The effort paid off. He won the Oscar for Best Actor in 1981. But the intense roles came with a cost. After Taxi Driver, he began feeling isolated and disconnected, similar to the character he had played. The line between acting and reality started to blur, a risk that came with his total dedication to his craft. It wasn't just acting anymore. Then, reality took a dark turn. John Hinckley Jr. became obsessed with Taxi Driver. He watched it repeatedly, bought the soundtrack, and studied Robert De Niro's every move. In his mind, the way to impress Jodie Foster, who played the young girl in the movie, was to become Travis Bickle. On March 30, 1981, Hinckley shot President Ronald Reagan in a twisted attempt to get her attention. The line between fiction and reality had vanished, and De Niro's performance was at the center of it. De Niro never chased money. He turned down huge offers, even rumored roles in Star Wars. He only worked with directors who pushed boundaries, people like Martin Scorsese, Michael Cimino, and Bernardo Bertolucci. Taxi Driver had been made on a tight $1.9 million budget, yet it changed American cinema forever. In Goodfellas, De Niro played Jimmy Conway, the mobster behind the 1978 Lufthansa heist that stole $6 million, about $29 million today. To prepare, he called Henry Hill, the real-life gangster whose story inspired the film. De Niro wanted to understand how it felt, not just what happened. The dinner scenes, the paranoia, every expression came from real fear. The famous "funny how" scene was completely improvised. Joe Pesci told Scorsese about a time he'd called a mobster funny and nearly got attacked. Scorsese had him reenact it with Ray Liotta without warning the others, which made their shocked reactions genuine. Then came Casino in 1995. De Niro played Sam Rothstein, based on real-life casino boss Frank Rosenthal. Rosenthal could calculate massive bets in his head, and De Niro studied every detail: roulette, surveillance systems, casino routines. The film's violence shocked audiences. In real life, the man on whom Tony Spilotro was based wasn't beaten with bats in a cornfield. He and his brother were lured into a basement near O'Hare and murdered by 15 men. Their bodies were dumped 100 miles away. In Cape Fear, De Niro spent $5,000 to damage his teeth and another $20,000 to fix them after filming. His tattoos were made with vegetable dye to last for months, and he trained so hard that his muscles grew too large, forcing the tattoos to be resized. The rage you see on screen wasn't fake, it was built from within. After Casino, De Niro and Scorsese stepped away from crime films for almost 25 years. They didn't make another narrative film together until The Irishman in 2019. The break was partly creative, partly personal. They were questioning whether their earlier films had glamorized crime instead of exposing it. In Sleepers, 1996, De Niro played a priest from Hell's Kitchen. Though the story's truth was debated, the movie made over $165 million worldwide. In Ronin, 1998, he did real car chases so dangerous that he looked genuinely frightened. Professional Le Mans drivers controlled the cars while De Niro pretended to steer. No CGI, just real speed and fear. Then came Meet the Parents. De Niro switched to comedy, and the famous lie detector scene was his idea, inspired by a CIA friend. The movie made $330 million and grew into a franchise earning over $1 billion worldwide. Off-screen, life was just as dramatic. While filming Hide and Seek in 2005, De Niro's marriage to Grace Hightower was falling apart. They had married in 1997, divorced in 1999, renewed vows in 2004, and separated again in 2018. Their daughter Helen was born via surrogate in 2011. In 2019, De Niro reunited with Scorsese for The Irishman, and it changed film technology forever. He refused to wear motion capture suits or facial dots. So, Industrial Light and Magic invented a new system called Flux. It used 3 infrared cameras that weighed over 60 pounds and captured De Niro's face naturally, allowing him to perform freely. The film took 108 days to shoot across 117 locations and contained 1,500 visual effects shots. Scorsese watched hours of footage daily and never once complained about the realism. De Niro played Frank Sheeran at 7 different ages, from 24 to 76, and it worked flawlessly. Next came Killers of the Flower Moon. Filming began in 2021 after pandemic delays. De Niro played William Hale, a man who manipulated and murdered members of the Osage Nation in the 1920s to steal their oil wealth. The movie became the most expensive ever shot in Oklahoma, costing up to $215 million. De Niro researched Hale's life deeply, reading 1920s documents and studying his psychology. The film premiered at Cannes in May 2023 and earned 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Scorsese and De Niro had now made 10 films together. This one was quieter, more haunting, a story of greed told through calm evil. By 2025, De Niro was still unstoppable. The Alto Nights hit theaters on March 21, 2025. He played 2 rival mob bosses, Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, real men who clashed in 1950s New York. The movie, written by Goodfellas author Nicholas Pileggi, built up to the 1957 assassination attempt on Costello, which he survived. De Niro wore different prosthetics for each role but relied mostly on his deep understanding of human nature. At 81, he was still mastering his craft. That same year, his first TV series, 0 Day, premiered on Netflix. De Niro played former U.S. President George Mullen, trying to uncover who caused a massive cyber attack that crippled America. The show, created by the team behind Narcos, also starred Angela Bassett, Jesse Plemons, and Lizzie Kaplan. De Niro said he didn't base the character on any real president, and even though he's known for criticizing Donald Trump, the show stayed nonpartisan. It was about fear, power, and truth. His personal life remained complicated. De Niro's first marriage was to actress Diane Abbott in 1976. They had a son, Raphael, and he adopted her daughter, Drina. They divorced in 1988. He later had twin sons with model Tookie Smith through IVF and a surrogate. In 1997, he married Grace Hightower, with whom he had 2 more children. And in 2023, at age 79, he became a father again when his girlfriend Tiffany Chin gave birth to a daughter named Gia. By 2025, he said she was pure joy and joked that he watched Ms. Rachel and the Wiggles more than movies now. But not everything was joyful. In 2019, De Niro's former assistant, Graham Chase Robinson, sued him for $12 million, claiming mistreatment. During the trial, she said he asked her to scratch his back instead of using a back scratcher. De Niro exploded in court, shouting, "Shame on you." The jury later awarded her $12.6 million, not from De Niro personally, but from his company. In the 1970s, De Niro and Scorsese had both battled cocaine addiction while filming New York, New York. Their habits almost killed them. Scorsese nearly died, weighing only 109 pounds before being hospitalized in 1978. That near-death moment convinced them both to quit for good. De Niro's father, painter Robert De Niro Sr., died of cancer on his 71st birthday in 1993. They had a distant relationship, but after reading his father's journals, De Niro finally understood him. In 2014, HBO released a touching documentary featuring De Niro reading those entries aloud. Later, one of his father's paintings sold for $31,000, and De Niro created a $25,000 art prize in his name. De Niro's achievements are countless: 2 Oscars for The Godfather Part 2 and Raging Bull, a lifetime of iconic roles, and in 2011, the Cecil B. DeMille Award. He opened the Tribeca Grill in 1990 and co-founded the Tribeca Film Festival in 2002 to help revive downtown New York after September 11th. During COVID in 2020, the festival went digital, and by 2021, it became the first major one to return in person. His activism is as fierce as his acting. At the 2018 Tony Awards, he shouted F*** Trump, live on TV. Trump insulted him on Twitter, and in 2024, De Niro called him a clown and a dictator outside Trump's trial. He even lost a broadcasting award because of his politics but didn't care. In October 2025, he posted a viral video urging Americans to join the No Kings protest, comparing it to standing up to King George during the Revolution. Over 2,500 protests took place nationwide. Some called it un-American. De Niro called it necessary. And somewhere in all that chaos, De Niro made one phone call that changed Hollywood. In 1993, while filming This Boy's Life, he told Scorsese about a young actor named Leonardo DiCaprio. "You should work with him," he said. That one sentence sparked a creative partnership that gave us The Departed, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Killers of the Flower Moon. In 2020, DiCaprio presented De Niro with the SAG Lifetime Achievement Award and called him elemental, like he was always here and always will be.